Hello everyone and welcome back to the ScrapbookPal YouTube channel. I'm Cassie Trask. Today we're going to be playing with some brand new Lawn Fawn products. I'm going to show you what we're using and then we'll get into it. We've got the Henry's Build a Sentiment Made for You. We're also going to be using the Henry's Build a Sentiment Love. This is so good for so many occasions, from love to friendship to anniversary, all those great things. It's a great little stamp set. We're going to pair that up with the Lawn Fawn Little Letters die set. I love this die set. After using it, love it even more now. We're going to bring in the Lawn Fawn Doily Hearts, and then I'm going to bring in this Lots of Hearts background stencil. It's 2 stencils, and we'll show you that in a little bit. We also have the Dusty Rose Lawn Fawn trimmings and some Uncharted Mariner. So let's get started with doing our stenciling on our background, because I'm going to need this to dry later after I do a little spatter on it. I'm bringing in this Tonic platform. It's magnetic, but I did use a little bit of Post-it tape to hold down my paper, which I cut to 4 1/4 by 5.5 inches. I brought in the first stencil, and I have some Uncharted Mariner along with a blending foam. It's a domed foam, and I'm going to blend on that Uncharted Mariner onto some of this bluish teal cardstock. The Uncharted Mariner is just a little bit darker, which is why I paired these up. I thought they looked good together. And then I'm bringing in the other stencil. Now, what makes this stencil so cool is you could obviously, what I'm going to do, use the same color if you wanted, or you could probably bring in like a paste or another color if you wanted to. I decided to just stick with the same color that I'm already using, and we'll just fill up that background with hearts. And so once I pull this away, you can see it just loads that background with hearts. Love it. And then I decided to bring in some Picket Fences distress paint. So I'm going to just take a little dollop of this and put it onto a stamp block. I'll grab in my distress sprayer, put a tiny dollop of water on that, and then blend that up and spatter that all over that background. Now that's going to dry back quite a bit, which I'm happy with. I don't really want it to be so stark white because the cardstock that I'm going to be bringing in is more of a cream color, but this goes well. It's very subtle on that background, and it just adds a little bit extra. So to save a little time, I die cut out all the pieces that I needed. We'll show you that here in a second, but here's that little envelope that you can make, and it has that adorable stitching detail on it. Oh, I'm really kind of in love with it. It's so cute. And then to make all those little letters would be just so much fun. And I did die cut the letter out of some more craft cardstock as well. And as you can see, I did it out of some pink. We're gonna layer that up a bit. And I die cut out the parts of the pen that you're gonna overlap on top of that pen. And I'm just grabbing some more of that Uncharted Mariner so that I can make that match the background a little bit more. I want that one to stand out a little more. So we'll peel off those pieces, and then I'll just use a little bit of liquid glue to adhere that down to the pen. They've thought of everything, really, so we'll just use little dollops of glue to do that. And I thought that using like a pickup stick would be helpful, and maybe it is, but I found it was just better to use my fingers in this case. So we're going to line those up. All the detailing on the die cut of the pen with the embossing makes it super simple to put together and know where you're supposed to put your pieces. So there's our cute little pen. Love it. Love those little added details. But here is that heart doily. Oh my goodness, look at the detail on that. It's super, super pretty. And then here are the pieces that I die cut out using the little letters die. As I said, I cut out 2 of those letters themselves and several of the hearts, as you can see, using a little bit darker pink. And so this is what I meant. I die cut it out twice just to show you. And then I did die cut the heart out of the center. You could totally bypass doing that, but I wanted this to look inlay, so we'll show you that as we get to it. But I just die cut the heart out of the center, and then I'm going to trim off the postage area kind of to this part of the letter. I'm just trimming off that excess because I'm going to layer this up, and I'm kind of just cutting right along the stitched lines, the stitched detail, and using my guillotine trimmer to do that. And yes, my cat, that's Miles, has decided to come in and check things out. We call him our quality control. All right, so here's what I'm talking about. I'm going to layer that over the top. We'll use our liquid glue to adhere that down. And then we can adhere the little heart in the center that I die cut out using a darker pink. Like I said, you could probably just stamp it right, or not stamp it, but adhere it right to the front, but I wanted it to look inlay. Check it out. Super fun. So now that we've got that part going, we can add our wording. So I'm going to use that Henry's Build a Sentiment Love, and so many options, and they fit on this little letter so perfectly. So I've picked out 3 words, and we've got your, so, and loved. So is going to go right on the heart, your right above it. I'll use my magnets to make sure everything stays in place. And I'm only doing this just to make sure that if it doesn't stamp correctly the first time, I can re-stamp it if I need to, because the paper I've chosen does have a little bit of texture to it. I'm going to use some VersaFine Clair Nocturne ink to ink up my sentiment, nice crisp black ink, and then I'll stamp that down. And it worked perfectly, so I don't have to stamp it again. But check it out. Cute little letter that says, "You're so loved." All right, so our background is dry, so we can start doing a little bit of assembly. And I've got my card base. We're going to go ahead and get that ready first. And that measures 5.5 inches by 8.5 inches. We're going to score that at 4.25 inches using our Score Buddy. I don't always trust myself to get it, especially if you're using a thicker cardstock, which this cream cardstock that I have is a little bit thicker. So I love to use my Score Buddy for that. I have some pink cardstock that I want to trim down to be just a little bit bigger than the blue cardstock that I have. So I'm actually going to trim this to be slightly bigger than 4 inches by 5.25 inches. This is getting cut down to 4 inches by 5.25. So that pink is just slightly bigger, and it'll give just enough of a border to just kind of let that pink poke or peek through. I'm really enjoying this color combination. So we'll go ahead and adhere that blue panel down to our pink panel here in a second. But let's add the doily first. That's fairly flat, so we can do that. We're using liquid glue for that. I did forget to mention that I had already adhered my envelope. So the envelope itself, I just used little tiny bits of glue on the edges of the flaps. I did want it to stay open, so we've only put a little bit on there, and then I put something heavy on it to make sure that it would stay put. And as you can see, I'm bringing in that Dusty Rose Lawn trimmings. I'm going to need to get more of these different colors because this stuff is really great. I love that there are different colors of it, and I think that just adds a little something extra to this card for sure. You know, we always used to add ribbon like about 20 years ago, and I like it. I want to get back to my roots, I guess. I don't know. So I've got some ScrapbookPal double adhesive, and so I'm just going to put a little bit of that on the back. This is how I like to adhere things like this. I'm going to wrap it around about 3 times, overlapping it, and making sure that that kind of touches into the glue that I've already, or the double-sided adhesive that I've already put down. And then I'm going to add just one more piece over the top and the bottom like that. It'll just ensure that the trimmings aren't going anywhere. So I'll peel that off as well, that release paper. And then this is where I'll add that liquid glue to the background, putting it over the tape as well, putting it over our trimmings. And that stuff is thin enough. The trimmings themselves are thin enough that it's not going to make a big difference or big deal. So there it is. And now I'm going to go ahead and make a tiny little bow. So I haven't cut any of that the trimmings down just yet. I'm making my bow first and kind of making sure that it looks good, and then I can trim that off. Don't want to waste too much of it. And so before I go ahead and adhere any of the heavy stuff down to the front, I'm going to take these 2 little strips of scraps that we had when we trimmed down our blue panel. I'm going to put those on the inside of the card. I really enjoy doing that. I like adding stuff to the inside that's going to bring the outside to the inside. And later on I'll add another little heart on there as well. But we'll go ahead and attach down our pink panel to our card base. Again, using that liquid glue. And then there's going to be a nice little cream border around that also. So here's our envelope. So cute. And then I'm just going to use liquid glue to adhere this down to the front also. And I thought about using glue to put my little note in there, but I changed my mind. I decided to bring in these 3D foam strips. These are the Scrapbook adhesive foam strips. I've just used about 5 of them. They're not real thick, and the release paper comes off super easy. So then I can just kind of shimmy that in there just enough so you can still read the the sentiment, and then I'll take some liquid glue and adhere down our pen to the front. I also have those 3 darker hearts. We're going to add those to the front also using some more liquid glue. And then once I put those down, we can add our little bow that we've made. And I'm going to use the liquid glue for that also. This liquid glue is great. And I'll put a dollop over the back of the bow, and then I'm going to put something heavy over the top of that. But it's then that I realize I want to add this little light pink heart to the inside of the card. So I'm going to go ahead and put some liquid glue on the back of that, and we'll add that quickly. And then we're going to let everything kind of dry. But there's the card. I love how this turned out. I hope you do too. If you like it, be sure to hit that like button and definitely consider subscribing if you haven't already done so. And be sure to check out all that ScrapbookPal has going on over on their blog, Facebook page, and Instagram for more crafty inspiration. Thanks for stopping by, and we'll see you soon.